Right, we're here for another episode of the Best Damn League Show. Period. Full stop. But again, just not as catchy a title as it, even though it's correct in the English language. Our guest for this one is going to be Fire, who is the coach of Giant X Itero, which, if people don't know, used to be Giant X Pride, which is basically the ERL team of Giant X. So, welcome to the show. Hello.
Hello, how you doing, guys? Pleased to be here.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, we're actually going to tweak the format a little bit. Don't ask me why. I'll tell you sort of vaguely. I'll let you peer behind the curtain and see how the wizard does the fucking machine that's so scary. Well, basically, we have to capture like the YouTube algo or whatever. So I'll just tell you, normally we do a good, bad and ugly format, and it's always the guest goes first. Well, the guest is going to go first to this one, but we're going to tweak it up a little bit, keep it spicy, and start with one of the potentially more interesting topics, because obviously every single show right now, the joke of the LEC is, even though everyone memed of like, oh, well, Los Ratones go 0-11, actually, whether they did or whether they didn't, they would be the most viewed losing team in the history of the LEC, because if you ever saw, the week that they started went 0-3, every game was like the most viewed, and they haven't even played the good teams yet. That's what's ridiculous. So fair enough, they are bringing, you know what, if there's one thing you can't say about Los Ratones and Cadril, you can't go, it's like me, you can't go, well, they're just not box office, are they? Like, they are, you just might not like them. In fact, if anything, people hate watching them at this point in time, aren't they? So we've got a point. We're going to actually go straight to the ugly section. I'm going to start with Fire. Don't mean it that way, obviously. That's just an unfortunate coincidence. No, obviously. Right, Fire, what is ugly at the moment in LEC? What could it be? I mean, obviously, week one, Los Ratones lost all the games. They won a couple this week. So what's ugly? What's ugly about Los Ratones, mate?
And for me, like, the thing that Los Ratones won into actually LEC teams. For me, that is like very disturbing.
Oh, the fact they got wins, like, right.
Yeah, because they won't be there for the rest of the year, you know? Like, so, like,
True.
Heretics and Shifters are losing into Los Ratones. So that's pretty shit at the moment, no? Like, these teams must be so bad, no? So if they are losing into Los Ratones and they are not going to be there in the rest of the year, like, and I also believe that Los Ratones like play not too great. Let's be like a bit soft on that, and they are relying on this like turbo scaling comps and doing some CC on the map. Like I believe that Nemesis is playing like really well, but for me this guy is the only one with LEC level in this roster.
Along those lines, I mean, another thing that's ugly kind of is like, even when they won, it was kind of like giga throws from both teams, right? Like that Shifters one was great. I put it this way, even though I don't like him, I understand why Nuke crashed out all over Twitter. Like, I'd crash out if I was in that game too, but he had it won about twice. It's kind of nuts, right, Fire?
Yeah. I mean, those tweets were a blast for sure. Like, I mean, it's not the first time that Nuke's tweets like something like this, but this feels like the mental breakdown came earlier this year, you know? Like,
sure. On week two, I see what you mean. Yeah. True. Okay. Yeah. I'll give him credit, Pete. I hadn't thought of that angle for it to be ugly. I thought it was just going to be out Los Ratones. What do you think, Peter?
Yeah, I mean it's brilliant. Look, I'll give Heretics a minor pass, right? Because obviously, I'm never gonna fail to take the opportunity to glaze one of your players, Fire, which is obviously Flackhead, who was doing a massive job for Heretics last year in terms of like their shot calling and stability. You know, so they brought in an AD carry that basically doesn't talk. They have two rookies who are like supposed to be leading the shot calling. I can see a world where they can throw, right? Like, it is acceptable for Heretics to throw the game. Rookies, inexperience, blah, 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 blah. It is not acceptable for Shifters to throw the game in the way that they did. Like, that is just, like, really, really poor, you know? You go and pick Nidalee, which is your ego pick. Like, you only pick Nidalee top if you really believe the other team is so garbage that you're just going to ego on them, and then you go and lose on top of that. It just makes it so it's so funny. And to me, as a neutral, I even though I predicted Los Ratones to do badly, I was just laughing my ass off in Dream Night. And, you know, and even I want Trimby to do well as well, right? He's one of my ex-players as well. Like, I wanted to do well, but it was so funny. And yeah, I mean, like, you know, Nemesis was good. You know, you've got to give Bouts a bit of credit. You know, he team fought really, like, there were 3 team fights in a row where he caught the most important person, despite being like, what was he? Was he 3K down? 2K down? He got solo killed or something.
Almost 3K.
It was down a lot, though.
3K, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're full item down and you're still more effective because the enemy top is in Italy who continually team fights, instead of split pushing like you should. I mean, it was kind of funny. I mean, I've got a point on shifters that we'll talk about later, but basically, I agree it's ugly. But, there's a world where I could have seen Los Ratones beating Heretics or beating like a high variance team. Like if you told me Los Ratones beat Vitality, like I could believe that they could beat Vitality. I could believe they could even beat Fnatic, because Fnatic have really high variance. But for them to beat Shifters is just very, very funny. It also shows that the other teams, after week 1, you could just say, oh, the other teams don't care, they don't disrespect these guys and things like this. But in fact, you have a Seren interview where he basically has to say, we didn't disrespect them. And then people are like, yeah, sure. Nice. But then by then seeing how Shifters reacted, you can also see it matters to these guys as well, right? Which is, I think one thing that LEC players sometimes struggle is to show that they give a shit. And people clearly give a shit, right? And even if that's all that Los Ratones are doing, showing that players give a shit about the league in regular season, that's enough to.
Yeah, I will say, I actually agree on the angle it's ugly. Like, if you think about it this way, bear in mind, they on one level are a very popular team, and obviously they're kind of the storyline of the split so far, especially because, by the way, G2's been shit, so everyone feels like the split hasn't really started yet, and no one's going to count, like, GX being at the top until they fucking win in the playoffs or whatever. Like, actually, I think most people have tunneled in on Los Ratones, and the problem, I think, is this. As I framed it earlier, if you actually want to just do the standard sports broadcast, you go, well, they went 0-3 in their first ever week, but in their second week, they won 2/3 of the game, so they're on a win streak of, you do a whole thing like that. The problem is, one, the way Nuke crashed out was, one, a mixture of what happened in the game, but it's also, I think, that like anyone after week 1, because it did so badly, anyone who loses to Los Ratones is going to get donked on. Like, it's actually, people aren't going to give Los Ratones that much credit. So I agree. Nemesis did fucking carry these games, especially because actually after week 1, people were even like, why are they picking Ryze? Like, well, now you can see why. It's far away his fucking best champion here. And also, I've got to say, the reason I also agree it is a bit ugly for any of the teams that lose to Los Ratones is, this was what everyone said after week 1 that they can't do. They did an ERL win where you have to have a Nemesis Giga carry. Baus has to come back from 1 million behind, and then you have to catch like a couple of times and just punish a mistake from the enemy. The problem with that is we were all supposed to go, oh, that's fine. It's because they're playing ERL teams, and they're like inexperienced, or they don't have great structure, they don't get paid anything. Lol, they're just overqualified. They did it in the LEC. In fact, if you shifters, you double triggered, because on week 1 you actually looked like you could have won some of those games against the better teams, and now on week 2, I agree, Peter, I'm sorry. When you do that Nidalee pick, that's you just saying like, lol, we can just do whatever the fuck we want. Like, Baus isn't basically an LEC top, is what we're saying. Like, we're just going to pick this. Even better, it gets insanely ahead. Like, that should just be the game. So if you then lose like that, it's like, we should have just fucking played normally. Like, we just done a normal draft, we'd probably win this game. It's so silly, I know. And also now, by the way, you've actually, if anything, here's what I'll make a prediction the other way around. The reason why it was possible they could have gone 0-11 would have been if they'd have gone like 0-6 now. I don't mean literally in the sense that you need to do that to go 0-11. I mean as in their confidence, if they just lost all the games the first 2 weeks, would have been so low. If anything now, one, they already won 1 game, so they got some of the pressure off. Bro, now no matter what, they've won 2 games. I actually predict whether it'll be like, I'll have to probably be someone like Vitality or SK. I'm looking at the teams they have left. They'll fuck around and win one of these games too. Just because at this point, by the way, they actually have nothing to lose. Everyone's flamed them anyway as hard as possible. Everyone's laughed. They've already won 2 games. And it's now changed the dynamic, boys. They're not going to be a top team and be an excellent playoff team. Probably won't even be in the playoffs, I would guess. But if you look at the current LEC, if any of those teams lose, think about that. Imagine Humanoid leaving Fnatic and be like, hey, I'm back with Carty. And then we're losing Los Ratones. Imagine being fucking SK, Mickey X like, hey, maybe Leader can be as good as oh shit, he just lost to Nemesis. That, mate, it's actually the teams that lose to Los Ratones now that are going to get all the hate. That's what the pressure's going. It's shifted the dynamic. And also, if you are Baus, I will point this out. There's one detail people do miss, because people are, it's the way we've become the fucking mainstream media. When everyone goes, the media just lies and portrays things out of context. Everyone on Reddit was linking to that video of Baus, like, I don't want to be a pro. That's from like 10 months ago or something, apparently. They were linking that as if he'd said it after the game, you know what I mean? Like after they lost, like, I didn't want to be a pro. It sounds rubbish. Apparently that's like an old video, you little rats. Like, why the fuck are you posting that now as if he just said it now? Like, this is some bullshit. Why are we all doing this? Like, look, they've already got enough problems in the game. Because I also agree, it's also quite ugly in the sense of like, how could you write down how you won these games on a piece of paper? Like, here's our plan, guys. Let them get ahead. They have to be like insane throat baron. Like what? There's not even a game plan there. But I predict they'll fuck around and win one of those games and war betide, whether it's SK or Vitality. Whichever of you loses to them, you will be the laughing stock, not Los Ratones. There's my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, like it's really possible that they just lock playoffs. Like soon, like they still have
Sure.
they have escape if they win that game. Like they are in. Like
Yeah, I mean, you are right. 8 teams making or whatever. Yeah,
maybe some upsets happen between
True.
like Heretics,
True.
etc. But right now they are the team in the low table with the most possibilities.
Yes. I'll also say, I didn't put Na'Vi in there out of respect, because if you're Na'Vi, you already know your job. Just go as fast as possible, as early as possible. But you already do that anyway, so if you do that, they can't come back at the end. There's no end game, is there? That's the secret. Look, don't worry, I've watched the LPL. BLG's been doing that for about 10 years, mate. Don't worry about it. Right, okay, Peter, what is your ugly point?
Just one for the thing on Los Ratones. The tragedy for all of this, though, is because realistically, you need 5 wins guarantees you playoffs.
Right.
Out of 11, 4 wins basically guaranteed. It's complicated.
Might be
4 wins,
tiebreaker
but
or something,
4 wins, yeah. At worst, you get a tiebreaker, but normally it should put you in a good position, right? To get playoffs. Should I tell you the funny thing? They lost the KCB, and that lost the KCB. You know, if you're on 3 wins now instead of 2 wins, you haven't lost the KCB. All you need is one more team to throw against you. 2 throws will probably be pretty tricky, right? But you know, if they're on 3 wins. It's possible, but it'd be very funny if KCB end up being the game that keeps them out of playoffs. Sure. That's what I'll say.
Also, by the way, it does look weird that the one other game they were winning was against Carmine Corp, the real one. That's actually the best team in the bloody LEC now, but whatever. That's just, the LEC's been wild in these big awards. Peter, what is your ugly point?
Yeah, so my ugly point is on shifters. Like shifters, you know, the first point I said last week was how high the floor of the LEC looked this year compared to last year, right? You know, I was like, oh, you know, Na'Vi, if our worst teams in the league, you know, are like Na'Vi, Shifters, and SK, because those are the ones that I had bottom of my tier list, or like maybe Heretics, you know, at least I can see where those guys are going, you know? Like, I can see, oh, Heretics have their rookies, like, SK...
By the way, when you say that comment, you obviously mean you were putting Los Ratones and Carmine Corp Blue, like, not counted in the tier list, right?
No.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Just to be fair.
I was talking about the LEC, how high the floor, because last year the floor of the LEC was like through the floor, you know, like it was really bad. They looked like there were 5 teams in the league last year, right? At times, and so I was like, I was all ready to go in on shifters. I was like, Trimby's come back from Brazil. He's gonna like put some shot calling into these guys, and then they have those games from this week, right? It wasn't the G2 game is whatever, right? Like so to be clear, shifters this week lost to G2. Lost to Vitality, lost to Los Ratones, right? Now, the G2 loss is whatever, right? Like, they just got outplayed. You know, G2 had something to prove after week 1. But the Vitality loss and the Los Ratones loss, both of those games, they're in winning positions. Like, they have rough early games both times, but they put themselves in winning positions, and then they seem to have forgotten how to play League of Legends. Right? And when I say forgotten how to play League of Legends, I mean they don't push their side lanes out. You know, I just go, because we're talking about the Nidalee pick, you know? You have this Nidalee is a full item ahead. It's the most basic thing on earth, right? Like even an ERL team can do this, right? You just go play 4-1 or 1-1-3, right? You put your AD carry away, you put numbers away from your Nidalee so that it costs enemy every single time the enemy chases your Nidalee, or every single time they try to collapse on your group. You're going to get a lot on the other side of the map. You just set the map up, and you go and make it so that the Nidalee will solo win you the game. And instead, what are they doing? They're grouping all the time. They're permanently grouping, right? People talk about, Baus and Nemesis. They smurfed that base defense. They played so well. But why is Shifters even fighting them 5v5 in a base defense? You know, Nidalee should be hitting your top tower. You know, you should never have 5 people sitting there 5v5 fighting them. And it's like they forgot how to play. Same thing against Vitality, you know? You should be splitting them up. You should be splitting them up, going on their base, and they just forgot how to play. And to me, this is really, really concerning because it suggests to me that maybe last week was a fluke. I'm really interested in Shifters going into next week because they've shown me both sides. They've shown me that they have an idea when they're supposed to group, how they're supposed to play the game. But I have no faith that these guys are able to play side lanes at all. And, given that where Rooster was a year ago, when he was playing in Korea and everyone was mega hype on this guy who had a lot of potential, and seeing him just like perma group with Italy, like really sets alarm bells for me for this team going forward. From what I saw this week.
They lost same way into GX first week, no? Like it was the same. So it's like three times in a row, like doing the same. It's for sure concerning. It's for sure concerning because I think it's a team that have like some early game bases like really well done, and they also have been working for a long time together. But yeah, when it comes to closing games, they just feel and not even closing games. It's just progressing the game, no? Like just making the enemy team suffer and bleed, no?
Yep.
They are just not good at that.
If you were their coach, what would you? If you were their coach, Fire, what would you tell them to do? What would you get them to work on this week?
I mean, for something I really dislike about this kind of teams is that they are at some point they are just so scared of walking into enemy jungle. Like they took a lot to progress the game, and it's because they are so scared. They don't know how to progress. So I will for sure like be working on that or playing into lanes when you have tempo, and I think is working on that. Like opening the map earlier, and then the mistake you were saying is like you cannot have Nasser and just be 5-man in one side lane. Like Los Ratones won that fight in a way, but in other games you will have a TP behind or some shit like this. Those scenarios are so fucking scary. Like when you are 5-man on a side lane, because I mean you for sure know, Peter, like how many games we saw from teams losing on that spot. Like just by showing 5-man, you have at least to have one person like at least progressing the midway. Like the fact that Nemesis could get the midway to get the tower and get the item back in base, that should not happen ever. Like it's so illegal. So yeah, I mean, like the mistakes are so evident. Like they should know the way to work. Yep. But yeah, let's see if the next week we see like some improvement there.
I mean, I fully agree with you. The irony is that he wouldn't have had enough gold to buy his extra item if they just set their lane aside, because he got the gold from the tower, which let him base and then buy the item which he cleaned up the fight with. But if you just put your lane assignments properly, like he won't have that gold. But yeah, okay, fully agree.
I mean, one of the reasons classically why actually, unfortunately, bad news for Rooster, we don't play around carry tops in Europe is not even just that people can't play the champions. Like I've seen some of these guys at Solo queue, they can. It's that we don't play around those positions. Like what I just said in the sentence, that we don't. If you ever see the LPL games, the whole team knows to accelerate the Jace top 2 years ago or whatever it is, like they know how to do that. Whereas you can pick the champion, but would you even use it? Like I will say, one thing that has always been really grating for me is someone who comes from a different game than League of Legends. So I'm not like some super expert on all the draft and all the matchups and stuff, is I used to be a massive fan. One of the reasons actually why we're friends and work together, of Monte Cristo's style of casting back in the day on OGN. And one thing I always thought he was brilliant at, he brought it to the sport, is he brought it from things like the NFL, where if you're trying to explain a really complicated thing, you just do a simple version at the beginning of the game and you go, right, here's the win conditions for this comp. If you get this, like in this case, you would have said if the Nidalee gets ahead, then you'll split push with it to like draw pressure. Like you would say that at the beginning of the game. You'd go into this comp knowing that, like, right, here's what we're going to do is the protocols. So when teams don't follow it, especially the classic one of like, you just group with 5 and team fight, which is like the ultimate sin that they always do in the fucking LPL if no one's ever seen that. Like, again, they also could have just pressured and won off that, but they're like, we're ahead, so that means we can take the fight, which is the worst thinking of all time. That does tilt me, because he's supposed to be pros. Like, that's surely what you work on in the fucking practice. Remember, we're not even in Fearless yet. This is BO1. Like, you're getting the draft. It's a normal draft guide. guys. I don't understand if that's game 3 and you never really did an Italy in that comp. That would make some sort of a sense. That's why I think the game got sloppy. Then also on the Rooster point, by the way, he's supposed to be the hyped Korean. If anything, by the way, it's actually the Paddock guy that looks pretty good. He actually kind of showed some fucking flashes of being a pretty good player. So I actually do get why Nuke just crashed the fuck out. Like if you are in this team, there's some potential. I can see why like the players themselves have some skill and they're good. But if you think of the old BDS, that was a way more fucking efficient, clean machine. A couple of years ago, the way they used to play around the objectives. And actually, that was a team that like, they didn't throw. They just lost to all fucking Fnatic and G2. That's all they did. It actually used to be a very consistent team. You could fucking bet your money on that team to beat a team below them in the table. So I actually do think if you're someone like Nuke, if you haven't been in this position before, you actually did like my evergreen tweet. You actually took it for granted. What it's like to be in an awesome team where everything works and everyone does what the coach says and like the practice actually comes and then shows in the bloody league game. Like welcome to the LEC now, Nuke. This is what it's actually like when you're on the other teams, mate, that aren't the top 3 teams. It fucking sucks, doesn't it, mate? Yeah, I know. All the stuff you practiced and all the things you said in that fucking room before you went on stage, they didn't do it, did they, mate? Well, you know what? Buckle up. Now you know what it's like to be on the fucking whack teams in the LEC. Because I've got bad news for you, shifters. You are one now. Like, that's the way. And I'll just say this, I'll rewind it. And you know, I made fun of Los Ratones from that. Like, they won, but it's like people were still trying to dunk on them. Yeah, because the joke is now, like, actually, people now look at them and go, yeah, but now they've only played KCB and Heretics and shit. Now they don't even credit you guys as being good. That's why if you are Vitality, you're joining that group too if you lose to them next, by the way. So just get ready. Okay, my ugly point is going to be a classic one, right? In theory, I should think this is a good point because he's one of my favourite players. And I will never say friend because they're more like just internet friends, aren't they? You type to stuff like that on fucking Discord. But I've always been acquaintances with Upset from Fnatic, right? And obviously, the reason why this is going to be in the ugly category is he's playing really well. What do you know, Peter? What have we ever heard this one before? So Upset's playing pretty well. Some of his other players on his team are making some questionable decisions, and he just has to carry all the games. The reason it's ugly is because if you know anything about Upset's history, one, every hater says all he does is just demand bot lane attention all the time. Even though I'm telling you, I promise you, he doesn't do that, and he definitely doesn't do it at the beginning of lineups. But every time lineups go to shit, he is just one of the most consistent pieces to carry the game, unfortunately. And he is an ADC. No ADC is going to go, don't give me my pick. Of course they're going to take it, but unfortunately, guys, we're week 2 already, and it's like they put all the eggs in the Upset basket, and we might win the game. Like, and it just sucks for a million years being fan of a player. Like, he's really good, and they're like, but he lost the game. No, but he's really good. Oh, if you're a casual, they think you just like glazing him at that point. They don't believe he's actually a good player. I mean, and it's like that whack thing that, you know, when they always make fun of him coming 10th place, he was usually still pretty good on most of those teams. That's the most brutal thing. So sadly, on week 2, we're already there. Like, Fire, what do you think? What do you think of the fact that Fnatic is just like Upset has to carry every game, it seems like, mate?
I mean, in some terms, it has like some sense. No, like they are kind of rebuild. I also agree that they are rebuilding, but it doesn't feel as a rebuild at all. You know, like because the team feels that they play the same way. Like for me, F1RE is another Oscar name. Like Los Pies. It's kind of rookie support, but he's doing like kind of nice to be rookie support in LEC. And for me, like the thing is that Bloody and Razor have been like some inconsistent players. You know, like they are still like making each other in comfort. I feel like. But Upset is just like some really regular player. Like you know what he's going to give you. So and I know like he is a guy that. Has a lot of hate and a lot of people praising him. Like there's like no middle term.
No, exactly.
The reality is that Upset is the middle term. It's like the ADC that is always going to perform no matter what.
It's consistent.
Like, so, yeah, he's like really consistent. So for me, is really good news that he is doing some nice games. Like there have been like some games that he didn't like. Fnatic didn't even need. Neither like Upset, like the game they won this week into GX, like they fucking stomped GX. Like Razor that game was in the head of Isma. Like every single play, he was always ahead. So for me, like Upset is being like a pretty good player, but it's as always like for me nothing changed at all. You know.
I will say, by the way, I've only just realised now, Pete, I don't know why I've even heard Spanish casters before. I've just realised now, Razork just sounds like nothing in English, doesn't it? Rathork sounds fucking dope. That sounds like some fucking like medieval warlord or something. That sounds sick.
Sure.
Okay, dope. Okay. What do you think?
Has much power for sure.
Yeah, it does. Sounds good.
I mean, look, so Fnatic had a rough game this week against Koi, right? I'm gonna say that I was very, very disappointed with Vladdy. Like he had Jojo was running it down, right? Like he was on Akali, he was running it down. Vladdy was in a position where if Fnatic play properly, they should be able to, like compositionally wise, they should be able to team fight from an advantage, right? With how the early game went, but he had a very, very poor game. Razork was like everywhere on the map. I think Razork this week was decent, right? But basically, Vladdy and Emperos had really, really rough performances against Koi. And this is a long-term thing that is a big thing to track if you're following Fnatic. How are they going to deal with Emperos as a player, as a rookie coming into the league, right? Because Losper is a guy who was in LCKCL. He's one of those players that came across 2 years ago. A lot of when players get too old for challengers career, there's kind of like an unofficial rule that you should be like 20 or 21, and then if you haven't made it up to LCK, like you're kind of done, so you go to other regions. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it's like you talk to people in the scene. So a lot of them come to ERLs and they try to make themselves visible. Noah, you can go the Noah or Jun route, you can go the Ruby route. It can end up both ways for you if that's the route that you choose. But that's who Losper is, right? Like he's not like some random 18-year-old mega hype.
I mean, the joke is he was on Fire's team, but before Fire joined them, he was on him like a while back.
Yeah. But he's a guy that he played well. He deserves. If you say who are the best supports in ERLs, he was a top three support in last year's ERLs, right? So he deserves to be in the LEC. You can argue about nationality and all of this kind of thing, but he's a guy that is very plug and play. It's not like his League of Legends education is not like he may be a rookie for the top tier, but he's had like a storied career, right? The difficulty is like when you have a player like Emperos, he's not a plug and play player, right? He's like a guy very, very strong in solo queue. Really, really likes to play. He's like a carry top laner. You have to go and you have to account for him being in your team, right? You can't just like leave him on an island and hope that things are going to work out. And this is something that Fnatic will have to come to grips with over the course of this year. They haven't managed it. I think even in the first 2 weeks, they still haven't found the solution for this. But Grabs has been very, very smart in all of his interviews, Grabs is very, very good at this, Oh, we're not playing for Winter Split. This is a long-term project, we're building. He's very good at taking the pressure and the sting out of something like this, because it would have been very easy to, you sign Vladdy, who won a title last year. You have like a very hype rookie. You come out and say, oh, we're going to go and challenge. Grabs will never say that. What Grabs is doing is like long-term project, building. Don't, we're not going to be dreadful this year. Of course, this team is never going to be dreadful, right? Like you have Vladdy upset on your team. Razork, you're never going to be like outside of playoffs when 8 teams make the playoffs in the LEC. But the framing has been very, very smart. But the big thing to watch, right, to see whether this is just words, is how they go and play him. Are they going to turn this guy into a weak side player? If that was their plan from the start, maybe you should have got a different top laner. But you can, with some good coaching, you can help that. You can help bring that out of a player. Or are they going to go and adjust their pathing to like Razork's pathing and Losper's pathing in order to account for the fact that they've got a guy that's going to trade on cooldown, right? And I don't think they've found the solution to that yet. And that's the big thing that I would track. So I'm willing to give Emperos a little bit of leeway because I think part of it is on him not adapting to people punishing his tendencies more in LEC, but it's also partly on his team, right? Not really knowing how to play around this. Because Oscar got nothing, right? Like when Humanoid was on the team, like Jungler isn't coming top, right? He's going mid or he's going bot, and there's nothing to say about it, right? So we wait to see how it goes. I'd say Vladdy is the one who's been the biggest disappointment to me. I expected him to be a bit better than this, and I think this is where I kind of agree with your point that Upset has to do a lot of the carrying. I think it's because Vladdy is not taking control of the game as much as you would expect an LEC champion to. If anything, he's the guy who's playing like he's also a bit of a rookie, you know, which is kind of disturbing, I guess. But yeah, I mean, you know, Upset has to carry, but let's be clear, right? If Upset is forced to carry this year, Fnatic are not going to go to Worlds, right?
Yes.
They have to account for the fact that they have different players in their solo laners. You know, Vladdy isn't going to roam like Humanoid and Poby were willing to roam, and Emperos is not just going to sit there and be destroyed on weak side, right? And even if that's what you're going to do with him, he's not going to team fight as well as Oscar, right? So they have to come to terms with that. But yeah, for now, Upset playing really, really well. Probably a top 2 AD carry in the league. I have an idea who I think is the top one, but we'll talk about him later.
It's coming.
But yeah, I think Upset very, very solid and performing well.
By the way, you know that terminology women use when they talk about relationships, where they describe a guy that they've met and they talk about having like red flags if it's like, you know, there's something dodgy about his personality or his baggage from his history, or green flags if it's like something good. Bro, the problem with Vladdy is, I don't know if it's just something about Greek players, mate. Like, he's on that forgiven shit where, you know, like the red flags, you're like a really good player, but then there's so many, they can't stop talking and giving you all red flags. So people have already seen, he already, by the way, red flagged his way the fuck out of Karmik and Corplay, one of the best teams in Europe, because basically, if no one remembers the drama, he just told their fans to like fuck off, basically, which I think's hilarious, but that's me, an aged, withered fucking evil boomer. The kids don't really appreciate that, I can't be believe it or not. But more funny, I saw a clip he did, look it up on YouTube later, where he went on Cadrill's core stream, this is during LEC, and he was talking to Cadrill, and bro, you know that thing from Game of Thrones, where it was like, oh, my sweet summer child, where it's like someone's just inexperienced about life, and you're like, you're naive, kid, let me teach you how life is. He was asking Cadrill, like, was Perks ever actually good? And everyone was just like, what? Like, bro, he was like the fucking final of worlds and shit. Like, so anyway, he was, and this is what he actually said. This is just so crazy a red flag. He goes, but how could he have ever been good if he's washed now? And you want to be like, bro, it's like fucking 5 years later. You know, in esports, 5 years may as well be like 25 years. Like, that's like being at the end of your career as a football player. It'd be like going, was Ronaldo ever actually really good? It's like, well, he's like 40 years old now, mate. So if you're Vladdy, listen, mate, all I'm going to say is that clip one day, I promise you, will come back to haunt you. In like 3 or 4 years, when you've given up completely and you don't give a fuck anymore, and you're just on like Heretics, just wilding away as like an right play on some like Niski at the end shit, people will get that clip and they'll just replay it and be like, was Vladdy ever actually good? How could he be washed? Now it's like, I love the idea that these kids, they always think when they get good at the video game, by the way, they're the first Anakin Skywalker that was just meant to be the best at League of Legends. Like, he just comes in waves, you idiot. Like, spoiler, when you all beat Humanoid now and go, I'm better than Humanoid, they're not at his peak, you aren't, mate. You just are now, right at the end when he doesn't give a fuck anymore, he's just quitting splits for Fnatic. Like, he actually wasn't even like 4 or 5 years ago. It's just time passes. Guess what? Father Time is undefeated, Vladdy. That's the real lesson you need to learn, mate. Father Time is undefeated in League of Legends. They all suck at the end, mate. Everyone does. Except Faker, apparently. I'll give him that. Somehow he doesn't suck. He probably should be 5 years gone, shouldn't he? Just winning worlds. Okay. I think we've already hit that before. We've done the ugly section. Now we're just going to go to the good. So, Fire. What is good at the moment?
Rhilech looks like really promising.
Yeah.
Like I love that guy. Like I already thought like he was like pretty nice in IRL, but my vision into him going into LEC was worse for sure. Like maybe I'm a pessimist, but was for sure worse. But I feel like this Navi team like are fitting like really well together, and Rhilech is the super glue in the team, you know, like this is the guy making the team actually works, and yeah, he's playing really well. He's playing champions that no one else was playing. Like now the Aatrox, like more people is going into it, but I don't know. Like this guy is looking like the next big thing in the jungle in EU, and that's pretty good news because like last year's like there was no good junglers coming, you know, like. We have BDS paying like a fucking ton of money for Bukada, you know? Yes. And Bukada is decent, but it's not good, you know?
Yeah, he's not 250,000 euros.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Like that's a massive amount of money for a jungler. And Rhilech, if you think about it, like Navi got him, like he stopped playing to wait for Navi. That they put Tiger in. Tiger was again kind of decent. Was not a bad player, but also not like top LEC level. And Rhilech feels like at the end of the year, this guy can be the next big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree, and like I'm a guy who actually thought that he was pretty decent looking at ERLs, but my peak for him at the end of year one is like, oh, this guy, he's a little bit inexperienced, it's going to take him time to adjust, and I said, he can be top 5 at the end of the year, right? Like that. Yeah. That was my, being optimistic. He's going to spend his first year learning the gaps, because this guy was a bit like 113, when he was in ERLs, very, very mechanically good, but sometimes did the most stupid things that you can possibly imagine, right? Like when you watch him, and you always hope that these guys can kind of you gain experience with your decision making, right? And my thought process was, okay, this guy, he's going to improve his decision making year one. Like I really rate Navi's coaching staff. I think that they're really fucking good. Like all those guys are on that coaching staff, and he's going to learn from those guys, and he's going to year two he's going to push on. But top 5 is like the upper point, and at the moment he's like the top 3 jungler in the league, probably. Playing really, really exceptional every single game, consistent. Can show that he can do both. He can be engaged, he can be carry. His pathing is really, really intelligent. Like everything about this guy has been a very, very pleasant surprise. And I think it's a show for him being good, but it's also a show that put rookies in the right environment, play to their strengths, and then you can get good things out of those rookies. And I think we should give credit to him as well, but I think we should also give credit to the environment he has around him. I think that matters as well.
I mean, and you can see that in the same team. Like for example, Parus. Like Parus last year was looking kind of bad, and this year he looks ton better. I agree with you that he's like the rookies in the good environment and with good people that knows how to develop these rookies. And for sure, like this guy is looking like really, really good. For sure, like props to The Rock and all the other stuff that the Navi does. But I'm really surprised, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I mean your Paris point is a really good one actually. I hadn't even thought about that because Paris this year compared to last year is completely night and day, right?
It's a good player.
Yeah, for sure.
If you are a Los Ratones fan and you're still the one going, Velia has a lot of potential. No, this is what potential looks like. Because he's actually fucking doing it. Like Rhilech from the first moment he stepped on the Rift in LEC has actually been tearing it up. And I even love, by the way, the other thing about the coaching staff, they just played to all his strengths. Like, let's just go fucking super hard early. And this guy, bro, even the game against KCB where he was like behind, that wasn't his fault. He did an awesome job early on. They just got door fucking bottling and then he was just behind in the game. He still came back and up and carried that one like... This guy's been very impressive, and I even like the way they're playing. It's just like pedal to the metal. And then I'll even put this out there as well. Here's how I also know this guy has crazy balls and he's going to be like a carry fucking player in the LEC. Look at the champion pool. Not a single fucking protection pick here or some bullshit. He's just fucking going for it, boys. Like, actually, it's why Navi has had all these wins where on paper you would have been like, they probably should lose that or this will be hard. Now they've just fucking put their foot on people's throat really early. I also agree with Peter as well. The real problem is people just don't either remember like some of those coaches or they don't know some of the best coaches in the RLs. They were doing like working miracles with the rosters they had. So I think actually all in all, they did a great job. There's no obvious massive names. And also, this is why you've always got to wait and see when there's like GM moves because everyone flamed that move like, wow, Tiger just gets to come up and he only gets one split because you already have this guy waiting. Well, now you see why, because the Tiger guy was all right. This guy's a demon, mate. He actually really looks super sick. It reminds me of someone like Razork coming into the LEC where you're like, wow, this guy's actually fucking good. Like, let's see where this guy is in a year or so. I'm with you.
Yeah, that comparison with Razork is like really good because I feel the same. Like, because for me, like the junglers can be like two ways. No, they can be like really intelligent, and for me, like the peak of this is Ejoya for sure. Like I think he's one of the smartest players we have in the jungle. And then you have like the junglers that play like by intuition. No, like yes. And for me, Razork is the other one that fits in this. And for me, Rhilech in ERL was feeling a lot like this kind of jungler, no? Like as Peter was saying, like sometimes was doing like some shit that had no sense. But right now, like he's adjusting, he's making a smarter moves as well without losing that part of like feeling the blood in the game. So I don't know, like it's feeling like a really great prospect for the year.
And again, if I'm talking about Monty win conditions, tell you what, mate, if your team hasn't figured out late game macro, just don't let there be a late game. It's a Reddit logic, isn't it? I love it.
The other thing is, it's worth saying he's done all of this not playing half of the year last year, because he didn't play Summer Split at all.
Because he was waiting, yeah.
Yeah, so he should in theory be like out of practice, for playing in a team environment. But they've adapted well. I wonder whether he was watching their scrims or something with Tiger, and maybe learning from that.
Okay. I will be honest. I was analyst for that Navi team, and he was not even in the Discord. I believe, unless someone was sending him the VODs of the scrims or whatever, he was not watching the scrims. At least from what I know. Maybe I'm wrong.
He wasn't on Korea. He wasn't in Korea on boot camp, so he was just in Europe, just chilling. I guess. I mean, clearly not chilling, right? But the fact that it's 7 months. I'm just checking his Leaguepedia. 6-month gap, 6.5-month gap from last week to his previous competitive game.
Okay.
Yeah,
I also like that. We didn't know that information. So he actually got to do the source. Me, I was there. Right, cool. Inside info. I like it. Okay, Peter, what is your good point?
Yeah, okay, so my good point, credit where credit's due, my first bad point of the year was, Yike has to step up and he has to go and show because what he's got this year, because he last year, when things were going really, really bad on KC, he was basically just perma-farming, not doing much, He had really low kill participation before 20 minutes. He had really low, he had wins on Maokai, but his win rate on things like Pantheon and Xin Zhao and Vi especially, champions where you had to be a little bit proactive early, were really, really low. And the things that he was doing well on were like late game scaling picks or like really fast farming picks. Lilia, he had a very high win rate on Lilia. Lilia, Ivan, and Maokai, right? And other, and this is when Vladdy was suffering. So obviously it was a case of, okay, you've changed your mid laner. You now need to show that you've actually got what it takes to take control of these early games. And credit to him, I like Kiahu, right? Is how you pronounce his name. The new KC mid laner. I can't remember how to pronounce it, but I don't think he's actually been that impressive. And like you go and watch, like I really like to watch the player cams to see how much they're talking. And he it doesn't look like he's talking that much. So we know we can give a lot of, this isn't Yike being micromanaged by his mid laner, right? But he's just found ways to be more proactive. And I think this week, part of the reason why KC are top of the league is because he has shown more proactivity, And against, obviously it didn't look good when he was against Koi, but he's shown, at least against weaker teams, that he's willing to be proactive, and this has given KC had the potential to have a bit of a rough spring split because, you have all these different languages, all of these people trying to come into the team, adapt to, from different environments. And I would say that it has become easier it's made life easier for Busio and easier for Kiahu to play the game when Yike is being as proactive and aggressive as he's been this week. And I call out especially the SK and the G2 games, right, from this year, because it showed both sides, right? He had a really, really insane game against SK on Jarvan where you have to perm engage, you have to go and you have to initiate all the time. And then against G2, it feels like Aatrox jungle was really broken, but he had a really, really good follow-up. He was Aatrox against G2, and with Aatrox, you have to follow up on the initial engage of your team, right? So I think that he's shown both sides of it, and, if KC want to win this year, Yike is going to have to out-jungle either Skumond or Eluria, preferably both, right? He has to be better than those guys. Do I think he's better than those guys right now? Not better than Eluria. Maybe better than Skumond, although G2 as a whole look a bit weaker than KC, but it's regular season to be expected. But he has to out-jungle those guys if KC are going to win a title this year. And he's shown at least signs to show that he's making the adjustments in his game that are necessary for it to happen. I don't think he's there yet, but it's promising signs, right? Is what I would say.
What do you think, Fire?
I agree. Like for sure. Like, but I also have like the bias that is something that KC tried last year as well, at least with the buy. No, when we had like this best of threes, like they were throwing like the buy in game 1 or game 2, just and it felt kind of practice, because I mean I know for a fact that when Yike was on G2, buy was a banned champion. And then there was no fearless as well, no. So it's also different, and then when we actually saw the buy on KC last year, he was not so great. But he is like so good. For example, in all those champions that you just have to farm and get level 6, like Wukong, Nocturne, etc. Like he's so good on those champions. But for example, if you play Aesir into Orianna with a Wukong that can do nothing into level 6, like Orianna is going to fuck your Aesir like so fucking hard, because it's just so oppressive. So for sure, like I agree with you that they need to step up on this. And he's trying, but I need to see a bit more, because at the moment he's not the top of the table. Like he needs to step up a bit more. Of course, we see some green lights, but at the moment he's on some development phase on those champions, and maybe he can get better. Maybe the buy is not his champion, but maybe the Pantheon is. Who knows?
The worst aged take of last year was because Karmine Corp won Winter, all those people being like, I see they were wrong to let Yike go. What do they do with this Skewmon guy? Because Skewmon looks like the best fucking G2 player almost every second after that. Meanwhile, Yike actually just sort of like got slightly worse each split and didn't look as good. And bear in mind, I'm sorry, this is his 4th year of LEC. He is now a veteran. He's also in age, I always point out, much older than people realise, because he came into the LEC quite late. This is a guy where he did have limitations last year. You could see that he wasn't like the perfect jungler just because he won all those titles with G2. But I do agree, he's definitely made some strides. Like he's expanded out his champion pool, a little bit more versatile. And I actually think, by the way, if he hadn't have done this, he's the person who obviously would be fired later this year or at the end of their year or something. Because if you bring in Busio, you're not just bringing him in to be like some insane bot lane. You're bringing him in to do all that insane shit he did in FlyQuest, where he was like the second fucking jungler, would like gank the top lane and stuff like that. Like in theory, if you have Canna, of course you want Busio to do that. That's part of why you brought him in. So I do think last year you were connected with Targamas. He's an interesting person to work with, but it sounds like he's got his own special way to do it, etc. Blah blah. I think they've got more potential now as a team having Busio. So you're going to need Yike to be a lot better, mate. He's going to have to be, like we've already talked about, who is the shot caller in this team? Like people used to say it was Targamas. He's not here anymore. So I agree. This is Yike's time for it to be actually his team and to be like the captain and shows not only a bit of leadership in the Rift, but yeah, we have to see some other picks as well. It can't really be like summer where the whole team, the whole league knows what you can't play, and that if you lock in the wrong champion, like they actually have a chance to win the game. Like that can't be a thing on the top team, because KC should, with this roster, be the best, all right up there with the best. You should be contending to win the title. So I agree. He's played pretty well so far. Fair play. No hate on my end. Right, okay, here's an interesting one for you. You never thought you'd live to see the day. Actually, I did do it, I think, last year as well, to be fair, Peter. But I'm going to do it again. You know what? I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud, because I've always used the corp, right? I'm a professional here. You have to understand that. I'm paid, fully union card, got the membership, everything. I've put in my years. I've earned my badges. I moved up from just like hot takes, rage baits. I've done it for a long, long time. And some of my specialties out there, got the reckless jar up here. I've got them all, mate. But I'll tell you what, one of the guys I hated on in the past was obviously Noah, right, when he was on Fnatic. And one of the ways I used to hate on him wasn't even illegitimate. He actually did have his problems back then. As I used to also go, even if he wins, it's like, I don't really give him credit. I think Jun's the better one out of the pair anyway, and he's kind of like an underrated. He's kind of like, you got to have a bit of nuance. You've got to be a bit of a connoisseur to understand what Jun is doing, and that wasn't really Noah who kind of thing. Noah's actually really fucking good, this split, boys. Like, I know last year he sort of like got his confidence back and they became like a stable, but he's actually just legit smurfed some of the games. Like, he looked fucking great on that Caitlyn pick, mate. And by the way, also also, there's another thing. If you're thinking they're just like some basic bitch boring bottling, bro, they played the fucking Caitlyn Elise. They actually look good. Like, that's some shit normally I'm only going to see like LCK or something. Like, that's actually pretty legit set. So I have to give it up just to Noah himself. Like, yeah, I know he had one bad game, sort of, but he's actually sort of carried in most of the games I've seen so far. What do you think, Fire?
I'm fucking impressed with Noah. Like I was already last year because I also felt that going into GX instead of being in Fnatic in the spotlight and with that massive fans, that was going to help with his confidence for sure. But I also felt that at some points last year he was still holding some of fear. But this year, man, this guy is looking awesome. Like he's for me, he's been like the best ADC in the league at the moment. To be honest, like for some this is a hot take, but I believe this guy is just doing insane plays from laning phase into team fights. Like I don't know, like he's being clutch, and that was what people was asking Noah to be was being clutch, and this guy now is clutch. He's playing really well. Also, like having June by his side, this guy is really good as well, but. Also, like playing Caitlyn, like this guy didn't want to play Caitlyn back then. Like because I know now I'm in GX. I know Guilloto. I know Rax.
Right.
I know you saw when they win the game, Rax was in turn like going to punch him. Like just don't tell me ever again you don't want to play Caitlyn.
Sure.
You know. So this guy now is gaining even more confidence from this game, and I don't know, like he's looking so fucking great.
Always one of the classics, isn't it, Peter, where you tell a player, you'd be really good on this, they just won't play it. Like, well, no, you win. See what I told you? I am the coach. I know. Classic.
Sure. I mean, look, the thing as well that I respect about this is there was I think before the game, in the pre-game interview, Noah was had an interview. I think it was with Dracos, and he was like,
you know, cocky.
Yeah, it was like, how you feeling today? And he's like, oh, you know, I'm a challenger AD carry and Super is master, because obviously Super's having a bit of a bad run in solo queue these days. So he's like, oh, I'm challenger AD carry, he's master AD carry. Today we see the difference or something like this.
I like it.
And you know, you got your cool shot. You picked your Caitlyn Elise and you kind of punish him. So, you know, respect. I like it when Koreans who come to Europe feel comfortable enough that they're willing to trash talk a bit, you know, like.
And by the way, he has. I know it's because he already was in ARL. He has way better English than most Koreans as well. Like, it's just he had to get the confidence to do it, Peter. Like, he always had the English to do it, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and you know, respect as well, especially given what happened. Like, because obviously week 2 is when Guilloto did his like G2 thing last year, you know, and that's all people talked about for the entire year. When obviously he's just trying to build hype, man. You know, he doesn't think G2 are going to ship for the entire year. He's just like building a storyline. But you know, for Noah to then go and do that after the hate that his coach got last year, you know, even more respect, you know, for that, because I can guarantee you, Koi fans would not have let him forget it if that cheese gag works out slightly differently. I will say that I do think Koi got a little bit antsy. Like, I think they traded flashes and to go and get the kill. And, you know, if enemy Caitlyn doesn't have flash and you have flash, it's almost impossible for Caitlyn to play the game. So that, I think that, you know, trading your flash for the kill isn't what they should have done, and maybe they could have played it slightly differently. But given what we saw in that game, I think, you know, respect to Noah and Jun. You don't pick Caitlyn Elise unless you are very, very confident in yourself, or your coach doesn't pick it for you unless they're very, very confident in you. You know, and he had a good game, and I think he's been very, very solid for this entire year. And you know, this is where GX, I feel, are at their strongest, and that's what they, you know, if we once see a very competitive league at the top, GX, I think, were the closest of the lower teams to catching up, and it's good to see that they're continuing to build on that. So I think that's a good sign.
Yes. By the way, if you are someone who uses devices or you use things like Spotify, this show is actually available. I think they put all the podcasts on Spotify, and it has video there as well. Just a thing they told me to do was a call to action. But anyway, we go on to now the bad section. So, Fire, what is bad right now?
Vitality.
You said it, mate.
Oh dear.
Vitality is pretty bad, like, to be honest. And I feel I already had this feeling last year. It's like the players in there are not improving. I didn't see Chayek getting better. Like, he was good, but didn't get better. Nako was really good at winter season and spring, but didn't get better. Same for Linsas. I thought with humanoid plus Karsi, like, really big combo. No, they were going to be like at the Giant X position. To be honest, like, I felt that humanoid was going to be like a plug and play. But yeah, things are not working. Also, I don't know, Fleshy sometimes does like really weird things that he was already doing last split, no, because he only plays summer. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect from Vitality, because they had like a bit of light last year at the end of the year. But yeah, again to the starting point.
Well, so my bad point was going to be on Linsas. So I think maybe you combine the two. I think since we're talking about Vitality anyway.
Just keep going.
Like, I think the irony for Vitality being this bad is that I don't think Naka's played that poorly. And Kazi before the Fnatic game, like, I think Kazi had like the highest DPM in like the entire league. You know, like,
and Kazi is really good for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think Kazi. I think Kazi has shown improvements versus last year now that Humanoid is in the team. Whether it's because he feels happier, whether it's because he feels that he wanted to get Humanoid in the team, so he now feels an obligation to play better, you know, and to take things seriously, you know. So in theory, in this meta, your AD carry is playing well, except for the Fnatic game. We'll ignore the Fnatic game for now. We'll come back to that later. And your top laner in what is a top lane carry meta is playing pretty decently, right? Like, he's not running it down, right? And your team is still this bad, right? Like, that to me is kind of scary. I think Humanoid, he's been rough in lane. He's had some positives in the mid game, but I would say, like, the big guy that has been disappointing is Linkas, right? And like, to be clear, just I don't know if you know this about me, Fi, but like, Linkas is a guy that I have championed for years, right? Like, when I was Heretics coach, like, this, before Jankos was available, this was the guy that was supposed to be my jungler. This is the guy I was like, okay, you know, there's 3 talents in ERLs, right? I was like saying, it's Alvaro, who are like guaranteed to be successful. It's Alvaro, it's Kalist, and it's Linkas, right? Like, those guys, 100%, you asked me 2.5 years ago, like, those are the guys that I will bet, like, everything on, right? And this guy, his performance against Fnatic especially was shocking. Like, he got his kill early on, but then he dies in his own jungle, right? Like, his top lane is getting huge advantage. He sees multiple people around his red buff. He goes into his red buff thinking, I'm on Jarvan, I'm going to be able to EQ out, I'm going to be able to get out of this. Gives up a kill for literally no reason, which is the most broad. Like, he sees the mid laner fucking into his jungle. He knows the jungle is there. He knows the support is in the jungle. He goes for it. Immediately, he dies. Then he goes top and he misses a point-blank EQ combo, which should be impossible to miss. Like, they end up all dying between tier 1 and tier 2 towers, and the game is completely over, right? And, you know, this is why I give Kazi a little bit of leeway for that, because, yes, he did flash in later on in the game, but you're getting destroyed, right? Like, your AD carry has to try something, right? So Kazi had a bad game, but, like, the reason they're in that position is Linkas is literally running it down. Humanoid is kind of following him, right? And Fleshy is also, like, it looks completely lost, right? And to me, I think that there has to be a point where it doesn't matter how much potential you think a player has. Like, you've got to go and say, like, come on, man. Like, you've had 3 different mid laners. You've had multiple opportunities with support. You've had, like, different shot calling structure. Maybe he needs to go to another org, right? Maybe he needs to go to a Navi, right? Or, well, I mean, he can't go to Navi, right? But maybe he needs to go to another. He needs to go to literally another team. Maybe he needs to go to Shifters or something, right? Like, he needs to go to literally anywhere to get out of this environment because it's just not working for him. Or we need to, like, you know, wrap it up. Because what I saw from this week from Linkas, I have never seen him play like this badly. Ever, even when Hylissang was like literally running him every game, I've never seen him play as badly as he played this week. And for me, it's just like, you have literally a mid laner who's going to shot call everything for you, right? Like, you just have to just follow the instructions and press your buttons, right? Like, and to me, he's a major issue that Vitality are bad. Yes, Humanoid as well, right? Like Humanoid doesn't escape blame, but yeah, it's been really rough watching Vitality, and it's so disappointing.
Link us on that red buff. Like I remember they put like the reaction. It felt like his game went there. You know, like he lost his mind there and he started running it. But I also feel that red buff. I mean, he can avoid dying, but I also feel like I don't know what Filthy is doing on the map on that play. You know, because on that play he's on top lane, just watching Akasante. Junara is just free farming. And he did just open top for no reason. Linkas has camps, like cannot join that jungle because they are not retaking that. I don't know. Like, you know, like for me, if I was Linkas on that game, I would be like pretty damn mad, you know. So I can feel I can feel the tilt to go into there, but I also fully agree with you that this guy is not exploding when he was like one of the biggest talents 2 years ago.
Even though he was mega hyped, I've never been on the train because I'm waiting to see it. And I've never seen it in the LEC is the problem. Everyone always hypes it. It's going to, and also, people have done that thing where he hasn't just had one chance. We've just cycled a million players to play with him and say, oh, it's all these players. Well, they're not enabling him. He's also had different coaches now. Like, I've been watching. Peter's now even on the Corpium. He's doing the football thing of like, he's not a bad player. He just needs to go and be on loan in La Liga or Serie A instead, like they do in Premier League when he can't hack it, you know. Like, maybe he's not actually that good then. I like that though, Peter. So he just needs to change the whole environment. It's like, it can't be just we need to change Linchester. No. Linchester's still sick. It's all these. It's bloody Vitality. They're all bloody losers. I like that because the whole point was Vitality is like the bad thing, and Peter managed to make it like, yeah, exactly. Look what they're doing in Lincoln. Like, I love it. Listen, we all have our biases. It's all good. It's all good.
I mean, but just to go back to the wider Vitality point, right? Like,
sure.
It makes no sense that this team is this bad, right?
Oh, like, the roster should. No, there's no way it should be this bad. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, like you know, you look at the players on this roster, and they just can't.
I mean, he nailed it.
Right?
You would have thought they'd be in the GX position where they'd react. You know, like maybe fraud early, nice run. Also, there's another thing, by the way. The other thing that kills them is the schedule, right? This nature of how the schedule works is you don't quite know how bad people are till afterwards. If you look back now, their losses are against Fnatic, Navi, Heretics. Those should all be teams you're going to win if you're going to be a good team. You look who they've beaten now those teams look trash. So unfortunately, like it's hard to give you much props. Like even your record looks like that's probably where you should be then. Maybe just not that good a team, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, they are tied with G2, but I don't think G2 is that bad, you know. Like I think G2 also have like, because if you see the schedule of G2, they play KC, they play Giant X, they play. I mean, they play a lot of good teams, no? They have the bad teams to be played, and maybe they are on a lower start. But by Vitality, as you said, they are playing the bad teams already, and they are losing into them. Like they lost into Heretics, and then Heretics lost to Los Ratones. You know?
I will say though, their draft against Heretics was horrifically bad.
But that's something that can happen in the best of one format. You know? Like sometimes you are just going to screw up like everything. It just happens. You know, like it's one game. If it happens more than one game, you have a serious problem. You know, but sometimes can happen. But for me, Vitality is, even with the good drafts, they are showing like some really poor League of Legends.
So because you're the guest, okay? So I'm gonna read out Vitality's schedule, okay, until the end of the season. You tell me how many wins, okay? They're gonna get, okay? So next week they play against KC, they play against GX, and they play against G2. Okay, that's week 3.
Okay.
Week 4 they play against MKOI and they play against Los Ratones in the final game. How many wins are Vitality gonna end the season with? They're on 3 wins right now.
I think they will only win to Los Ratones. I mean, they can win into GX or any other team if they just click in the best of one, you know. But realistically, their schedule is only one more win.
Yes, and as I said, God forbid they lose that game, boys. they could go 0-6 now.
No, just imagine they lost every game. They go into last game to Los Ratones, completely mental boom, and they lose, and they also lose. I can see that happening. I can see it.
But the thing is, Los Ratones are 2-4, Vitality are 3-3, right? And the way that tiebreakers are, it's head-to-head, right? Because they change it, right?
Yes.
So If Vitality go into that game 3-7, okay, and let's say even Los Ratones lose all the games, right? Like, okay, maybe or Los Ratones win one. Los Ratones will be 3-7 or 2-8. That may be for a playoff spot, and you've just got 0-4, and you're playing them for a playoff spot. Holy moly, man! Like funnily enough, that may be what it takes to get Humanoid to feel the rush. Maybe I will do the biggest copium of ever, which is that I will say Humanoid plays better when he feels there's more stakes, and clearly there's not enough stakes on the line, right? And maybe he'll play better with the stakes on the line. But holy moly, man! Vitality, I predicted you top 3 this split. Don't miss playoffs, please, dear God.
Sure. Okay, I have picked as my bad point. Listen, I've tried to make it not something everyone else had. So this is what you call in English fire, low-hanging fruit. Anyone could just reach up and grab this. It's just obvious. I'm sorry, I have to just say, bearing in mind, I didn't choose the LEC versus format, mate. If it was up to me, it would just be LEC. We'd have the 10 teams. We'd do a normal, fucking group, or we'd do best of threes or something. We're doing this BO1 thing, right? If you're going to do BO1 and have 12 teams in the league, no a team should ever be capable of only winning 1 or 0 games. Everyone should actually be getting a couple. It's BO1, you can fluke it. There's not even a fairness cup. But bro, I have to say, after watching 2 weeks of KC Blue, they're lucky they fucking won that game against Los Ratones, or they'd be the worst team to ever play the bloody LEC. There's so many red flags on this team, mate. I understand they're not supposed to be here. They're supposed to be an ERL team. And by the way, if people don't know, this isn't even the KCB that won the fucking EU Masters and was the ERL. They made a bunch of roster changes and weird gambles, etc. What do you guys think of this squad? Because I know, like I said, anyone can bang on them. They've only won 1 game, but it looks fucking rough, and the problem is I've never had any reason to hype these players, so I kind of feel at least people are talking about Los Ratones. This team just looks like they're probably going to lose all the games and no one even cares. No one even gives a shit. What do you think, Fire?
I mean, I think it's so bad that they changed the roster. I mean, I understand what they did. No, they say that Riot allowed them to do more changes because they were maybe some players going to LEC, but the reality is only one player went to LEC, the top laner. Why didn't you keep the others? So for me, it's I already knew this top laner and AD carry, they were playing in second division in France last year. Of course, they are not going to be to be good in LEC. We all saw Camilo last year. He had some development through the year, but his level at the start of the year and even at the end was kind of low. He came back and he's now one of the best players on this team. For me, the only player that I'm really hyped to be seen playing in LEC states is Yukino. This guy feels like he can have a lot of progress. He's doing some great things. Sadly, he's an import. No, maybe he will go back to LCS next year. But he's doing great. I also, at the start, I had the feeling that maybe Prime could do some good things because I had the feeling 4 or 5 years ago this guy was always on the table to be around the LEC and never got the chance. So I wanted to see him, but yeah. And maybe it's too late for him,
Yeah, I mean, it's ironic you mention that because Prime 5 years ago was on my team. He was on Splice Vipers with Priest. And he was close. He was on our shortlist, but in the end we went with Kaiser in the end. But he was in the top 3. It's just Kaiser was strong at the time. But I think Prime has shown a decent level. I mean, what I would say is on the Hazel and Tau point, it's worth saying that not only were they in LFL2, but they didn't even make playoffs in LFL2. There were 3 splits, they didn't make playoffs once, right? At least Kamilu, he was in playoffs every single split. Now, I don't, especially Tau, I didn't think was that good, but Hazel showed that he could have been an LFL. He looked like an LFL level AD carry. So I expected a bit better. I didn't every time Tau.
Isn't the problem though as well that another player that was one of the best on their team was Execake, and obviously he didn't get to come. He went off to that Fire, whatever the fuck other weird team they did. So that's another player that if you bring in the real team that won EU Masters, you have to bring him as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think if they had you just keep X-Kick. You just have X-Kick Yukino, and then you have Kamilu Prime and Tao. If you want to reward him for sitting in your third team, right, then fine, okay. But the fact that we don't see X-Kick in this tournament is tragic, because X-Kick was really insane. Like, people may have remembered him from not being that good on SK, but he was really good in ERLs last year. Like one of the top 5 players, probably in
even in SK in SK at some moment he was like really good. It was only his last season. His last season he something happened to him that he was like really really bad for sure. But then in ERL he was, I don't know, destroying everyone in NFL, and you must.
It was even rumored he might be the replacement for Upset and Fnatic. Like, there was a lot of teams in the mix for this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm surprised that he didn't end up going to SK, because they were deciding between him and Yoppa, I think.
Yes.
And they end I would have gone with X-Kick, but like maybe they had tryouts, right? So I'm sure that it was a synergy thing, right? But X-Kick is a guy you will see back in the LEC, right? Like he definitely deserves to be in the LEC, and it's like one of those. It is one of those actual environment situations with X-Kick. Like this guy is. If you even watch him in solo queue, you don't even have to watch ERLs. Like, this guy is cracked, right? Like. But what I would say about KCB is, I mean, so I think Prime has been fine. Kamilu obviously has, I mean, like he's shown that he's not LEC caliber at this point. The one thing I will say though is about Yukino. So sometimes players look, if you are the best player on a bad team, sometimes you will look really insane, right? Because it looks like you're the only guy who can do anything. Like, let's be clear, Yukino is not that, right? Like, Yukino is objectively playing really, really well. I mean, against Koi, he was... I want to be very careful with what I say here. I don't know if he's out jungling Illuria, but he's definitely matching Illuria, right? Like, the worst you can say is he's matching Illuria, who's the best jungler in the league, and then he turns around, and I got a clip here at like 12 minutes. He has like 4 kills. His team is like 5-7. He's like 400 gold ahead of Illuria, but his team is 2.5k gold down. Every single person is like 0-3-0, 0-2-0. Like, and like his team is getting completely murdered, and like he's there matching the best player on the other team, arguably the best player in the league right now, and the rest of his team is just collapsing. I will say though that if this guy is not on an LEC team next year, next split, there is something wrong with the system, or maybe he's holding out for a bit too much, because he was offered the FlyQuest starting position, right? So FlyQuest isn't enough for you. Right, so that means that what is enough for you, right?
Sure.
If GX are going to be replacing their junk. I'm just trying to think of a team like Shifters are a team that may replace the junk. Okay, I'm not saying they should kick Bukada, but let's say, is Shifters good enough for you? Right, if Shifters come and say, we want to give you this spot, Yukino, would you go there? Because there's not that many teams in the LEC that need a jungler, right? Like, you're not going to the top 3 teams. You're not going to GX because like the inherent synergy is so good. You're not going to Navi because their best player by far is their jungler. You're not going to Heretics because Shio, right? So where are you going, right? Like, which team are you holding out for in the LEC? Are you holding out for Shifters? Are you holding out for Vitality? I think he'd be a good match in Vitality, but it looks like everyone who goes to Vitality, goes downhill really fast. So do you want to go to Vitality? And the only other team that I've forgotten is Fnatic. Okay, yeah, you're not going to Fnatic either, right? Like, because they're not going to get rid of Razork, right? So you have your 2 choices of Shifters and Vitality, right? Those are the only 2 teams that might realistically trade your jungler. And if you didn't want to go to FlyQuest, who have a decent chance of going to the Worlds in the US this year, what are you holding out for, right? And we're going to learn a lot about Yukino over the course of this year, because maybe he's just happy being in ERLs forever, because he's not going to one of the top 3 teams. So yeah, he's been really good though. Like Yukino he looks like him and Rhilech. I always pronounce this guy. Is it Rhilech or Rhilech?
Who knows, man?
Rhilech. I say Rhilech. So.
but I think him and Rhilech are like the 2 rookies that have really shone for me so far this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's find out what happens on the next episode of the Best Damn League Show.